is inevitable.
surely.
It's crossed the line and Chelsea are ahead, and it's him again.
Everyone thinks Todd Boehly has no idea what he's doing. They see £1 billion wasted and assume he's just a reckless American tourist throwing cash at a game he doesn't understand. But what if that recklessness isn't reckless at all? What if it's the smartest financial loophole in football history, hidden in plain sight? Because the truth isn't that Chelsea lost their mind. It's that they stopped running a football club and started running a hedge fund. And the craziest part? They did it by changing one tiny detail in a contract that most fans will never see. The first sign that the game had changed wasn't a new formation, a record-breaking transfer announcement, or a debut under the lights at Stamford Bridge. It was a line of numbers on a piece of paper, buried deep inside a contract. Most fans never think about that part. But in modern football, the contract is the real battlefield. Traditionally, if a club signs a superstar for £80 million on a standard 4-year deal, the rules are simple. You don't pay £80 million every year. On the books, that fee is cut into pieces and spread across the length of the contract. So £80 million over 4 years becomes £20 million per season. That £20 million isn't just a random number. It's a weight on the club's shoulders. It decides how much room you have to sign the next player. It decides whether you can afford that new contract for your star. And most importantly, it decides whether you pass or fail the financial rules that are supposed to keep clubs under control. In modern football, your budget is oxygen. And amortization, the way those fees are sliced up, decides how much air you're allowed to breathe. Most owners accept that. They stay within the lines. They play the game the way it was designed. Todd Boehly looked at those same rules and saw something else. He wasn't interested in breathing carefully. He wanted to expand the tank. Instead of accepting the usual 4 or 5 year deal, Chelsea started offering contracts that stretched into unfamiliar territory. 7 years, 8 years, even 9. To critics, it looked desperate. It looked naive. Why would you chain yourself to unproven players for almost a decade? Why would you risk being stuck with expensive mistakes for years? Because on the balance sheet, something magical happens when you do. An £80 million player on a 4-year deal costs £20 million per season. But stretch that same £80 million over 8 years. Now, on paper, it's just £10 million a year. Same player, same price, half the yearly cost. And that simple trick doesn't just save money, it creates an illusion. On the books, Chelsea suddenly look lighter, healthier, more compliant than they really are. And that illusion is what allowed Boehly to keep spending while everyone else was asking one question. How are Chelsea getting away with this? On paper, this is the financial logic that chains Mykhailo Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea deep into the 2000s and 30s. On the pitch, they are just young men in blue shirts, wingers and midfielders trying to make sense of the chaos around them. Asked to create chances, control games, and carry the expectations of a global fan base every time they touch the ball. But somewhere far away from the roar of Stamford Bridge, on a quiet screen in a boardroom, they are something else entirely. There, Mudryk isn't a raw, unpredictable winger. Enzo isn't a World Cup winning playmaker. They are long-term amortized assets, their transfer fees sliced into thin yearly pieces and spread carefully across future balance sheets like a debt paid off in installments. Once you see that shift from player to asset, the entire strategy starts to look less like old-school football management and more like a venture capital fund in boots. Traditionally, a club spots a weakness and patches it. Not enough goals? Buy a striker. Too many mistakes at the back? Sign a defender. The goal is simple. Fix the problem in front of you and hope the league table moves in the right direction. Boehly's model doesn't think in terms of patches. It thinks in terms of portfolios. Instead of buying one proven star to solve today's headache, Chelsea buys a cluster of high-upside youngsters to shape tomorrow's balance sheet. And that is where the strategy stops feeling like sport and starts feeling like a numbers game with human faces. If just one of those players explodes, if one Mudryk suddenly looks like a £150 million winger, or one Enzo becomes the most wanted midfielder on the planet, the profit on that single success can erase the cost of every failed bet around him. In this world, footballers aren't just judged on goals and assists. They are treated like growth stocks, with their future transfer fees modelled like projected returns, their form charted like a volatile share price on a restless market. A portfolio cannot thrive without infrastructure. You cannot simply accumulate talent and hope it matures on its own. Development has to be designed, tested, and systemized. That realization is what turns the acquisition of RC Strasbourg-Alsace in France from a curious side note into a central pillar of the strategy. By purchasing a second club under the Blue Co umbrella, Chelsea didn't just add another badge to the collection. They built a controlled environment, a kind of football laboratory, where young players could grow away from the relentless noise and pressure of the Premier League. In this setup, Strasbourg becomes more than a satellite club. It becomes a proving ground. Promising prospects can be identified earlier, signed before rivals pounce, and dropped into League One to face real competition, while still remaining inside the same ownership network. Instead of sending players on chaotic, unpredictable loans to clubs with different priorities and playing styles, Chelsea can oversee their journeys from within. Coaching philosophies can be aligned, medical and sports science programs can be shared, and data analysis systems can be mirrored across both teams. Step by step, it transforms Chelsea from a single institution into a networked enterprise, where information and talent move along the same channels. So the question remains, is this a stroke of visionary innovation or a slow-motion catastrophe? If Todd Boehly gets this right, he won't just add a few more trophies to Chelsea's cabinet. He will redraw the blueprint for how elite clubs operate, proving that modern football can be industrialized, systematized, and scaled like any global corporation. In that future, players are no longer just heroes in shirts. They are data points in a vast machine, and clubs begin to resemble production lines, built to manufacture competitive advantage year after year. In a project of this scale, there is almost no safe middle ground. If it works, it will be hailed as revolutionary, studied, copied, and mythologized. If it collapses, it will stand as a cautionary tale, etched into football history as a warning against pushing the numbers too far. What is certain is that the game has already changed, reshaped by bold accounting, aggressive expansion, and a belief that even chaos on the pitch can be modeled and managed. The only thing that hasn't been written yet is the ending. We are watching the experiment play out in real time, season by season, window by window, contract by contract. And for now, the final score of Todd Boehly's grand design remains unknown. The game has definitely changed. We just don't know the final score yet.